people, LP2000, right back at you with another video. Thank you. Welcome back once again to Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju. Yes, we're taking a look at the second Ultra Warrior to make his way to the illustrious Gigantic series from X Plus, my favorite line of figures from X Plus. And here we have the great, awesome, unbelievably fantastic Ultra 7 from the iconic TV Ultra show from 1967. Ultra 7. As you can see, I have the box here. I have Ultra 7 here. And let's get into the box before we get into the figure. Yes, no different from the Gigantic Ultraman that I got in 2016. You know what I mean? As far as like the box is concerned, you know what I mean? Actually, both the figure and the box are pretty much similar in both figure, the stand that's attached to the figure, and the box. You know, it's pretty much a similar presentation between the two figures. You'll see in size comparison or comparison in general with Ultraman later on in this video. But of course, the box, I love the box with the great window display, you know, whatever. Picture of Ultraman right here, Ultra 7 on the side, as well as the back. I love the back. Similar, like I said, to the Gigantic Ultraman box. It has a picture of the figure right here, Ultra 7 right here. Yes, great box. You know what I mean? Gigantic series here at the top right-hand corner. And that's pretty much it with the box. Yes, that's it. I love the box. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to trash it. I'm going to keep it. So yes, Ultra 7. Yes. So let's get to the backstory about this figure, shall we? First and foremost, let me just say that I'm a huge Ultra 7 fan. Ultra 7 is my favorite Ultra Warrior from the entire Ultraman franchise. Nothing against Ultraman and other Ultraman incarnations like Ultraman Tiga, Dyna, Ultraman Ace, Jack, Taro, Ultraman Dyna, Ultraman Zero, whatever. Out of all of them, Ultra 7 is my guy. You know what I mean? And this figure was announced for pre-order late last year. I forgot which month it was. But they want to bring this figure out to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the show last year, 2017. But the best they could do is bring it out this year, and it just came out like 2 weeks ago. Actually last week. So at the time of recording, it's like what, January 28th. Ultra 7 or Gigantic Ultra 7, I should say, is hitting stateside right now. So if you pre-ordered one, trust me, you'll be in hog heavy once he arrives. I have the standard, I don't have the Rip Boy. I wish I could have got the Rip Boy. But I will get more Rip Boys this year, thanks to Tyler Boots Carlson. Ain't that right? You know that's right. The Rip Boy option came with light up eyes as well as light up color timer here on his forehead here. Just like the Gigantic Ultraman Rip Boy. That version of Ultraman the Rip Boy, I mean, had a colored timer. I think his eyes lit up. So basically it's the same type of presentation here, or with the Rip Boy, I should say. You know what I mean? And yes, I love this figure. You know, like I said, Ultra 7 is my favorite Ultra Warrior. When they were announced they were bringing him to the Gigantic series, I knew I had to be all over it. Yes. A little backstory about me and Ultra 7. I first came across Ultra 7 back in 1995 or 94, one or two. It was one of my last years in high school. Yes, I'm that old. Yeah, I'm that old. And it used to come on TNT back in, like I said, 94/95, something like that. And it would come on 6 o'clock in the morning every single weekday on TNT before they show like cartoons like Johnny Quest and Bugs Bunny and all that good stuff. And back then, this was before I used to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Nowadays, it's very easy for me to wake up that early. But back then, my God, 6 o'clock? Oh my God. Especially when you were a teenager and you would stay out late, or at least, you know, you would be up late. Waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning was kind of a hard thing to do, especially for me, you know. And one morning, I don't know what I was doing. Maybe my dad got me up and got me doing something. And I got up real early and I happened to turn on TV, and I happened to come across this show, and I didn't really know what it was, but looking at some of the special effects involved with the show, with the miniatures, and seeing a little bit of familiar faces that I've seen in Godzilla films at the time, that I was watching Godzilla films, I kind of figured that these people, or at least some of the people that were behind the Godzilla films, were behind Ultra 7. And after that, I was hooked, you know. And I didn't get involved with Ultraman, since Ultra 7 is basically is a byproduct of the Ultraman popularity. Actually, he's the third Ultra Warrior to be introduced. You know, because Ultraman was the first. Zoffi, his superior officer, Ultraman's superior officer that takes him back home in Ultraman's last episode, is technically the second to be introduced. And Ultra 7 was the third, since Ultra 7 was the second Ultra show, at least the third Ultra show technically, behind Ultra Q and behind Ultraman. And once I saw this show early that morning, I was just hooked, you know. And it's a great show. It really is a great show. I will touch on more about this show later on when I talk about the show. But yes, that's pretty much it with my backstory with this figure. The figure's backstory about how it was when it came for pre-order and when it was released and blah blah blah. So yeah, if you're a fan of Ultra 7 like I am, if you love Ultra 7, please get your hands on this figure. And that's the thing. By me being a Godzilla collector, and I did want a version of Ultra 7 in my collection, kind of like the Gigantic Ultraman. And there are so many great Ultraman and Ultra 7 25cm figures out there that X Plus has given us. But since I love the show, don't get me wrong, but I don't see myself collecting everything about the show as far as Ultraman himself, or at least Ultra 7 himself, and the monsters that he fought. I was like, you know what, if I'm going to go after one, I'm going to go after the biggest. The same philosophy I had with the Gigantic Ultraman. And when they announced Ultra 7, which I kind of figured they would do that to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the show, and there are some that say that Ultra 7 is even more popular than Ultraman. So I figured that the X Plus would do a Gigantic series Ultraman. You know what I mean? And I could not be even more happier. You know what I mean? So let's get up close and personal with the newest addition to the X Plus Gigantic series. Once again, my favorite Ultra Warrior. You will hear that a lot during the course of this video. Ultra 7. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, here we are, up close and personal with the Gigantic Ultra 7 from X Plus. Yes, yes, yes. First, let's get down to with the stand here. Let's talk about the stand first. No different than the Gigantic Ultraman. It came with the same type of stand. A black platform stand with his name in Japanese text right here at the bottom in red, which is really, really, really amazing. And nice presentation. And what you do is, like, you know, it comes with this stand. You know, you just attach the rod with this hook, or I guess this harness, this plastic harness to hold Ultra 7 in place here, and that's it. Now, to be honest, you don't really need it, because he can pretty much stand alone on his own without it. Less, you know, you have to rearrange his footing a little bit, but other than that, he can stand alone just like this, right? But you know, it's nice to have this harness, or this platform, I should say, just in case, just to provide extra security for the figure. You know what I mean? Because, you know, like I said, you don't technically need it, but I always say it's better to have it and not need it versus need it and not have it. And they did a great job with Ultra 7, from his sculpt, you know, to his pose here. Yes, just the color on his body with the red and the silver and just everything about him is amazing. Really is amazing, you know. Even down here, and here's something that once again you gotta praise X Plus for, because once again they go for suit realism versus monster kaiju, or in this case alien realism. It goes for realism for what we saw on TV with the suit, and as you can see, like right here, if you can, like see right here, see that these little black areas right here. I'm gonna give you a little close up here. Black areas right there, as well as the black areas back here on the back of his calves, as well as his boots, I should say. That's basically what the Ultraman, or this Ultra 7 suit actor, that was part of his suit. You know, it was zippers, you know, and it was zippers on his suit, because I believe this was like a wet latex suit, kind of like what Ultraman's suit was like, you know what I mean? And all these black areas, these little black lines, to simulate zippers on it, you know, his wrist here, I guess to keep his gloves in place, as well as the zippers back here on the back of his calves, to zip the suit up, as well as the zippers here on his shoes or his boots. Because there were times during the show where you actually see close up of Ultraman's feet, and you can clearly tell they were boots versus like being like a whole bodysuit. But once again, X Plus goes above and beyond when it comes to realism and detail by going the extra mile by putting that little those little aspects into the figure. No different like with the Godzilla figures, where they have like little simulated poke holes in Godzilla figures around his neck to simulate where the actor will see and breathe out of, or in the back of his dorsal plates where they have like a little line to indicate the zipper where the suit actor would go in and out of the suit. No different here with Ultra 7. So yes, the eyes are looking really, really good. They're painted really, really well. Even the color timer here is really, 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 really well done. The overall craftsmanship and detail on this figure is amazing. Once again, if you have the gigantic Ultraman, then you'll find the same exact realism, expert craftsmanship, great fantastic likeness with Ultra 7 as you would the gigantic Ultraman. You know what I mean? Size wise, he stands at least 50 centimeters tall, roughly between the 18 inches and 19 inches mark. So yes, he's a big one, but he's not going to be really be a big as shelf hog, because he's a humanoid form, like Ultraman. Unlike Godzilla figures or Godzilla Gigantics that have like dorsal plates and a bulky tail and all that good stuff, you won't have to worry about that with Ultraman. With him being a humanoid, simpler form, you don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I really do enjoy this. Sculpt wise, it's popping. Paint scheme, the platform, the harness, the eyes, the color timer here, I guess on his dome here, I guess that's what it's called. Really, really is amazing. Even the crest on top of his head is amazing. Yeah, this weapon that pretty much will cut up any and everything. You know what I mean? And I'll touch on that later on when I talk about the film. But yeah, this is such a great piece. At the time of recording, I think Hobby Search still has a couple. Or maybe you can hit up a couple people on the X Plus Players Facebook group. There are expert at giving out Rip Boys or delivering Rip Boys like Tyler Boots Carlson or maybe Jim Serenella. I know those cool guys are good at getting people Rip Boy, or at least putting people in the right direction where Rip Boys are. So whether you get the Rip Boy or this standard, either way, you can't go wrong with this figure. I really do enjoy this. Once again, love it. Paint scheme, pose, even his pose is just heroic, and just the way he would just, his fist is all balled up, whatever, like he just transformed and stuff like that. And yes, paint, sculpt, likeness, it's all there. I would say it's a 10 out of 10. 100% accurate when it comes to Ultra 7. Yes, it is. So let's go with two size comparisons, and I'll talk about Ultra 7. The show, why I love it so much. All right, let's go with the first size comparison. Okay, folks, this is the first size comparison, and why not start off with the size comparisons with the big one here. An unprecedented matchup between two icons that we probably won't ever get to see get into it, but it's nice to have the to get the imagination going here. Of course, along with Ultra 7, I have the Gigantic series Godzilla 1962 from King Kong versus Godzilla. Yes, they look great together, even though Ultra 7 has a little bit of size advantage over him with the crest on top of his head. But if you have the Gigantic series Godzilla 1962, and if you want to pair it with the Gigantic Ultra 7, like I said, even though they have never faced each other before, to my knowledge, it's nice to have these two together just to have that visual of what could have happened if Godzilla and Ultra 7 were ever met. Would they fight? Would they fight side by side against a bigger threat? You never know. But once again, like I said before in my Gigantic Ultraman video regarding the popularity of the show, like Ultraman, Ultra 7 was such a cool character, and his show was such an amazing show that it wasn't really needed for Godzilla to be a part of it. It was just, some things, Godzilla did not need to be a part of. Some things were just awesome from day one. And Ultra 7, like Ultraman, falls into that category. But at the same time, it is nice to think about what would have happened if Godzilla and Ultra 7 came together. You know, but that's one of the good things about being a collector, because when you have all these different figures and, you know, you want to put these figures together just to simulate what could have happened, or what would you have liked to seen happen if things would have pan out in, you know, in such a good way. You know, so it makes you wonder. Would you pop down in the comment section what you think what would happen if Godzilla came across Ultraman? Excuse me, Ultra 7. You know what I mean? But yes, it's nice to have these two together. Yes, yes, yes it is. Alright, that's it with the first size comparison. Let's go with one more size comparison and see how Ultra 7, the Gigantic, stacks up with his Gigantic Ultra brother, the Gigantic Ultraman. Alright, let's go. Okay, folks, this is the last size comparison, and yes, finally, together. And that, you know what, this is the one shot I've been wanting to make happen ever since the Gigantic Ultra 7 was announced last year. You know, in addition to me wanting to get Ultra 7, you know, because I love the character that much, but I wanted to put these two together. So yeah, side by side for somewhat of an intergalactic family reunion. Gigantic Ultra 7 alongside with his brother, Gigantic Ultraman. As you can see, they look so awesome together. Yes, they do. Just two of the most iconic Ultraman shows ever. Nothing against the other Ultraman shows that will follow these two, you know, like Ultraman Jack or Toro or Tiga or Dinah, or, you know, Ultraman Cosmos, Ultraman Gaia, you know. All the incarnations that will follow these two had such a tough act to follow. You know, because these were such great shows. Kind of like great mini 30-minute show of movies, you know. And they really set the bar, you know. And Ultra 7 really, and we're going to talk about him for a little bit, had a hard act to follow following Ultraman. Because Ultraman was such an amazing, iconic, revolutionary show, you know. And like Ultra 7, they came out in a year where there were a whole bunch of awesome kaiju properties from the film and TV industry came out. You know, like I said, in Ultraman's case, you know, 1966 we had Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, the Diamond trilogy, Water Gargantuous, Gamma vs. Baragon. You know, then Ultraman made its debut in that year amidst all that kaiju greatness, you know what I mean? And it did well. It did really well. Then you go to the next year with 1967, Ultra 7 came in. You know, Son of Godzilla, King Kong Escapes, Yonggary, I think Giant Robo came out that year, Gamma versus Gauss, Gappa, just a lot of different things. It's from Outer Space. A lot of great kaiju film properties came out that year, and Ultra 7, I believe, was one of the best things about that year. And it still holds up to this day. Like I mentioned before, I think some people look at Ultra 7 as more popular than Ultraman, but I know there are a lot of Ultraman fans out there that deem him more popular. So maybe once you pop down in the comment section, which fan are you? You know, like what camp do you belong in? Do you belong in Ultraman's camp, or you belong in Ultra 7? Either way, these are great, awesome Ultra Warriors that set the tone for the entire Ultraman franchise, which they still are growing strong today. And we owe a lot of debt of gratitude for these two for setting the mark and being the excellence in, you know, kaiju TV entertainment. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I think about when I have these two together. And if you have the Gigantic Ultraman and you want the Gigantic Ultra 7, and if you're wondering, putting them together will make for a satisfying shot, look no further than this. Awesome. So awesome. Alright, so let's wrap this review up and let's talk about Ultra 7, my favorite TV show from the Ultraman franchise. Alright, let's go. Okay, folks, let's talk about Ultra 7. Yes, such an amazing show. It really is. I have the DVD here of the entire season. It's from Shout Factory. I think you can find them now on Amazon. You can find them probably at Walmart if you look hard enough. I think it came out like a couple years ago, or a year ago, something like that. It's been a while, so he may not be out there that much. The show may not be out there that much DVD-wise. But trust me, if you can find it for a good price, track it down. You will not be disappointed. Now, mind you, like I mentioned before, when I first came across this show, I saw it on TNT back in the day. And it was heavily edited. You know what I mean? I wasn't really aware about the show being heavily edited, even though there were certain things about certain episodes, like certain fight scenes were maybe cut in half, or certain cuts, or certain editing practices in the show was really apparent when some scenes didn't flow together. And I caught upon that, but I still did not know that it was really heavily edited like this. This is the Japanese version of the show, uncut, uncensored. It has English subtitles, so it's a good watch and it's a good investment. You know what I mean? Even though I prefer the American version. You know, even though it is edited beyond belief, even though the dialogue with the American actors, you know, or at least with the American dubbing, I should say, it comes off as kind of corny. Like King Kong versus Godzilla, even though the Japanese version may be a little bit better in terms of making it a little bit more serious, or, you know, whatever. I find the American version better. You know, that's just me because I grew up on that. And I grew up on the American version of Ultra 7, so that's why I prefer Ultra 7, the American version, as a show. But if I had to describe Ultra 7 in comparison to Ultraman, if somebody would have asked me that question, and if I'm talking in somebody who knows about kaiju films, know about at least Godzilla films in particular, the best way I would describe Ultraman and Ultra 7 is like, I would say Ultraman is like Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 1974, and Ultra 7 is like Terror of Mechagodzilla. And those out there who've seen those two films kind of know where I'm going with this, but 74, in my opinion, was a little bit campy, a little bit lighthearted, even though it had a lot of violence with the monster action in that film. You know what I mean? You know, the story was kind of lighthearted, like I said, not really too serious. You know, it was really a fun film, right? Terror Mechagodzilla was a little bit darker in its presentation, a little bit darker in its tone. You know, it was still a good film, a great film, but still it had a shift in tone with its story, and it was a little bit more serious, a little bit darker in its presentation. Ultraman and Ultra 7 follows that same type of path, but Ultraman is more lighthearted, and Ultra 7 is a little bit darker. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that Ultra 7 is a bad show in comparison to Ultraman. I don't think that that's the case, but I think for a show that's similar to Ultraman, they had to do things differently. They had to go in different directions, because basically the premise of both shows is pretty much the same. An alien comes down, he takes part in this elite fighting force that defends the Earth, and they go about defending the Earth from alien threats, weird gigantic kaiju / monsters, and that's it. You know, and one of the people that's on the team is secretly Ultraman or Ultra 7. So they both follow the same type of premise. You know what I mean? But Ultra 7 differs in Ultraman, in my opinion, with certain story arcs, because there were certain times where Ultra 7 would fight monsters and he felt like a moral dilemma about fighting those monsters. He felt like he shouldn't have fought those monsters, that maybe that it wasn't his place to fight those monsters, you know. Some monsters were created through bad circumstances. They weren't like evil, malevolent creatures, you know. And Ultra 7 felt guilty about having to step up and take them down when they're really not evil, sadistic creatures, you know. And as far as like being heavily edited with the show, I can understand, because like I said, this is the uncut Japanese version of the show, and the fight scenes are very brutal. And in these fight scenes, Ultra 7 is taking his weapon, his crest. I forgot what it's called, but he takes his crest and he uses it as like, remember that thing in Predator 2 where the Predator used that kind of like disc, and he used it as a frisbee and it would cut every single thing in sight? You know what I mean? His crest weapon kind of works like that. And in an uncut version of the show, he's like cutting off monsters' necks and chopping heads off and limbs off. And like in one episode, I think it's called the 8,000 ton mega mistake, or 8,000 megaton mistake, where he fights this monster that was made because they were testing a new weapon on this planet and they thought the planet was deserted. But it come to find out, the blast, I guess, or at least the radiation from the weapon that destroyed the planet, created this monster. So the monster heads to Earth, which made Ultra 7, like I said just now, had a dilemma with himself by whether he should fight the monster and try to kill it, because, you know, it wasn't an evil creature by nature, you know what I mean? But in the fight scene, how he takes him down, he like rips off, because it was like a winged creature, he rips off the wing, and then he like takes his crest and he cuts the throat of the monster, and the blood just spews out in front of his face. It was like yellow blood, and it was covered all over his face. You know what I mean? So after seeing that, at least seeing a few episodes of the uncut version of the Japanese show, now I understand why they made so many edits and so many changes with the story. Because, you know, like I said, this show came on before Johnny Quest and other cartoon shows at the time, and it was meant for kids. And of course, kids should not be seeing, you know, even though he's a superhero, you know, with the red and, you know, and all this going on, they should not be seeing superheroes cutting up monsters, even though they may deserve it, cutting up monsters by the throat, slitting their throats, you know, just taking off appendages and beating them with it, you know. So I can understand, you know. But yeah, other than that, it's a great show. It really is a great show. Once again, it had a heart at the follow with Ultraman, because Ultraman set the tone. You know, Ultra Q was cool, but Ultraman after Ultra Q really set the bar high as far as like entertainment, you know, in that type of environment, you know, TV environment, you know, and it just proves that, you know, we didn't have to go, at least they didn't have to go to the movie theaters at the time to see great kaiju action. They could sit at home for free and watch it, you know, and devote just 30 minutes versus devote like an hour and a half to 2 hours, you know, with kaiju movies. And so now, you know, you come up with another show behind Ultraman that was so iconic and so revolutionary and just set the bar so high, you know, it's kind of a hard act to follow. But Ultra 7 did. They followed it. They did something different with this story presentation, even though they followed the same type of premise and, you know, forged their own way or forged their own story. And I think they did a great job. You know, he doesn't come across like an Ultraman knockoff. Like some people look at Gamera as a Godzilla knockoff. You know what I mean? Ultra 7, in my opinion, doesn't have that reputation. He is his own fighter. You know what I mean? Which will also follow other Ultraman incarnations to come after him. You know, with Ultraman Jack, Taro, Leo, Ultraman Chester. I'm sorry. There are so many different Ultraman shows, and honestly, I kind of stopped watching them after Ultra 7. You know, because I'm just fine with Ultra 7. Even though there are a lot of other Ultraman shows out there, and I take nothing away from them. If you're a fan of Ultraman Tiga or Dinah or all these other shows, good for you. But after Ultra 7, I was like, I'm good, you know. So I'm still even trying to get into Ultraman, you know, because after me getting the Gigantic Ultraman, I got more into the show thanks to people, my good friend like David F. Dopko, Vince Elliott, John Ruffin, Andy Peters, you know. They got me more into Ultraman, you know, and which made me appreciate Ultra 7 even more. Because like I said, between the two shows, you know, they take different approaches with their stories, you know, whatever, even though they follow the same type of premise. But still, great shows, great Ultra Warrior, and I'm so glad that he finally made it to the X Plus Gigantic series. You know what I mean? So that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus Gigantic series Ultra 7 Standard Edition from the iconic TV show from 1967, Ultra 7. If you have any questions, holler me down in the comment section or hit me up on Facebook via Mark Calloway. We definitely would go from there. Yes, oh my God, my first Gigantic for 2018. I have a feeling that he won't be the last. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Yes. But still, great figure. Really is a great figure. If you want one, like I said, I think he's still on Hobby Search right now, you know, for a good price. And there's another thing. Even though he's a Gigantic series figure, he doesn't have the Gigantic series price tag that comes with the normal Gigantic series figures, because like I said, he's not bulky, he's not big as a Godzilla or whatever. So roughly, you can spend like, maybe if you got points or whatever, at the most, you probably come out with $180 for this thing shipped, which is not bad. Not bad under any circumstances. For this thing to be this big, gigantic, and detailed, and just sculpted really well, you know, you really will get your money's worth. It's not overly expensive, you know what I mean? It's such a great price for such a great figure from for such a great, iconic TV show. Once again, Get your hands on this figure, whether it's a standard or a rip boy, the Gigantic Series Ultra 7 from the iconic TV show from 1967, Ultra 7. All right, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. A lot of more stuff is coming. The X Plus 30cm Diamond Gen is coming. The X Plus Dilution or Megazord, I got that. That's coming. The X Plus 25cm 2004 Godzilla is coming. I'm going to do a revisit of Godzilla 1955 30cm. The Godzilla 1962 Rick Board 30cm. Mothra 1961. There are a lot of stuff coming, as well as the Gigantic 64 coming. There are a lot of stuff coming here on the channel, so please stay tuned. You will not be disappointed in what I have planned coming in the future. All right? Get this figure. Get it. Get Ultra 7. All right? I thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all again on next Figure and Move review. All right? Y'all take it easy.